All right, we are officially starting our group chat here with, this is my therapist, Tina. I cannot pronounce her name, so I'll let her pronounce that for you. And so this is kind of a different thing. Obviously, you guys here because, you know, we normally talk about flipping phones on eBay or making money and stuff like that. But I think, you know, therapy is very important, and like our own self-management and happiness, because if we're not happy, that's going to be reflected in our relationships and our business. And if our relationships are not healthy, I don't know if you guys notice this, but when things aren't good on the home front, things are not good in the business usually, right? Or you're going to be always on a roller coaster. Everything's great, and then everything goes down, and then everything's great. Does anybody ever experience that roller coaster kind of, thing like that, where you know your emotions are high one day? So it's important, I think, being able to be happy, you know, through a majority of the day and building healthy relationships is really important to your success as an entrepreneur, and just, you know, happiness in life, right? Because what the hell is the point of all this money if we can't enjoy it, right? So I started working with Tina about 3 months ago, and there was stuff that I always wanted to deal with. I was always afraid to talk to someone about it. But how I met Tina was Tina is actually a famous singer in her country. As a matter of fact, she actually has a national radio.
I'm not that famous yet, but I'm getting there.
Oh, stop it. She's also very she's actually going to be on national radio in her country tomorrow. And she was also featured on, they have a talent show on TV, kind of like The Voice in Serbia, and she was featured on that as well. She's got a YouTube channel. She has actually a video with like 170,000 views for one of her own original songs, and it's done really well. But so Tina was my singing coach originally, and I just, I'd always wanted to be a better singer, and at the time I was also looking for a therapist. And I said that I know, Sam, you want me to teach you how to sing and play the guitar,
yeah,
Sam?
You can see that coming. Yeah.
But anyways, so I had told her I'm looking for a therapist, and she had a degree in psychology, and I didn't realize that she's also a certified psychologist. So I said, well, here's some of my issues. Do you think you could help me? And I went through some of the problems I was having. I was having some issues with Amy. We've always kind of been, up to the last year, a little bit like back and forth sometimes. I had a lot of kind of anger issues, a lot of drama. For those that have known me since this course started about 2 years ago, you'd probably seen a different me than now, right? Annie's shaking her head. She knows. Chris is laughing. Yes. I was a little bit more critical in the past. Let's just put it that way. And I reacted a lot strongly to certain situations than I do now. And Tina helped me a lot through that. There was a lot of deep down seated issues I had from childhood, from emotional abuse from my mother, physical abuse from my father, and losing him when I was only 16. It put me through a lot, and I was a very emotionless person. So Tina got me to cry quite a few times, and I'm just being vulnerable with you guys. I know, so please don't judge me on any of the things I'm saying. I promise I'm not going to judge anybody else for being open. But as she kind of discovered my emotions, I kind of found my real self again. And then I was able to kind of heal a lot of, my relationships with my family, and especially with Amy. And so my marriage has gotten a lot better. And even my mother, who I got to be honest, I really did not like my mother for years. We had a very bad relationship. I hated my mother. I used to swear at her. I mean, I won't get into details, but I had a lot of resentment, let's put it this way. And now me and my mom are very good friends. We're actually doing a trip to Florida in a couple of weeks together. We're going to go see, we're going to spend Christmas in Busch Gardens together. We're getting a hotel. We're spending the time as a family. And my mother tells me she loves me all the time, which, for 20 years, she never said I love you to me ever in 20 years. And now she does, which, seems like a little thing, but for me, for someone who never got that as a kid, it was a big deal. So anyways, I hope I'm not getting too into detail, but, I wanted to share that experience that I had with you guys, so you knew how important this was and how much Tina did for me. Lawrence says, my mom didn't talk to me for 2 months recently because I went off on her for smoking. We had a lot of battles like that. So anyways, Tina, do you want to say anything or jump in about like our experience or what you saw or how things went, and then we can get into the questions?
Yeah, I just can't help but say, first of all, hi guys. I can't see any of you, but I'm very glad that I have a chance to meet you and talk to you. excuse my French. English is not my first language, so you got that one obviously already, I guess. But anyway, I wanted to say that working with Dave was an amazing experience. He is everything you look for when you want a client, you know, as somebody who's committed to actually changing, because we need to change things if we want to get better, you know. So it's sometimes very hard to let go of our patterns, of the way we think, of the way we feel, and then of the way we behave, because those are very connected processes in our brains, and there's really no way to feel something without thinking something behind it, and there's no way to act on something without thinking and feeling something. So it's a huge mess, and you have to work on every part of that in order to be able to change and manage yourself. So Dave was quite an inspiration. Honestly, I did not expect him to move that fast. He worked on himself. He actually listened to what I had to say to him, although maybe he didn't like it all the time. But I am very proud with what we did. I am so tremendously, unexplainably happy to have him, you know, as my friend. Today, I'm going to be honest with you guys, we probably crossed the boundary as a therapist-client thing, because this whole relationship meant so much to me. It gave me a sense of, you know, a sense of purpose, when you're able to change somebody's life for the better in that way. So I'm very, very lucky to know him. I'm very, very lucky to have worked with him. And I guess you guys kind of know what I'm talking about. Dave is a doer, okay? So he gets to the point, he works on his problems. And I hope like that you guys know that this attitude is crucial when it comes to making changes towards your well-being, towards solving some of your mental problems or whatever.
Yeah, okay, I got to stop you really quick. So you said all this great things about me, great, appreciated, but let's get really real here now and talk about the bad stuff, because that's what they want. Stuff, right? Okay, so let's be honest, right? When I first started working with you, I know, first of all, I got to say that Tina is one of the nicest, like patient, non-judgmental people I've ever met in my life, because I was pretty arrogant when I first started working with Tina. And I mean, I was nice, but like, what do you tell them? I know, I'm sure that like there was things that you saw in me, and you were still very patient despite my flaws. You kind of look past that. So can you tell a little bit about that?
Yes, actually, guys, David came to me and said, like, I'm narcissistic. And you know what? I bought it, because he was so convinced in it, and smart as he is, he read about narcissism, and he kind of concluded that he had all 9 criteria of it, and he self-diagnosed. But the problem is, his narcissism wasn't a disorder, and I realized that while working with him, because you can't really be a narcissist and be so empathic. Is that a word? Empathic, or like having so much empathy?
Yeah.
Empathetic, sorry, having so much empathy for people. And he kind of had a lot of mechanisms to cover that up, and he wouldn't approach his own inner self, and he would actually, you know, put that narcissism, arrogant mask on his face in order to hide what's really behind it, because he was the one who couldn't face what was behind it. And I believe that, look, guys, we all know who narcissistic people are, okay? Nobody likes narcissistic people. And that's how Dave appeared, but that's not who he was. But he lived believing that that's who he was. And I helped him approach who he really was, right? So we figured out that once you let go, once you decide to, you know, dig deeper and actually get in contact with your real self, with stuff that made you, that led you into the position you are at now, you can actually rethink your patterns, and you can choose whatever you want to be, whoever you want to be. You can choose how you react. You can even choose how you feel by controlling your thoughts, by understanding what's behind it, and most importantly, by accepting. And a lot of problems that you guys stated here are a result of not accepting yourself enough, not accepting life, not accepting people, having some standards and demands and ideas about how world should work, and then reality happens and the world doesn't work the way you want it to, and then you get all, depressed and a lot of other stuff, and it's really gradual. So it's kind of hard for me to wrap it all, up for you guys in such a short matter of time. Oh, hi, Brian. I see your future for whatever reason, but
I want to say I'm getting a little emotional listening to Tina talk about this, because I remember like the first time I had this like acceptance moment, it was about a month and a half to 2 months after working with her. She had got me to really open up, and I started facing a lot of stuff from my childhood, and I went through a very painful process. It was tough to go through that, and it was very emotional. But then once I healed from it, I remember the day that after going through all this stuff, and I had called my mom. We had this amazing discussion together. I remember I looked at in the mirror, and like, it was crazy. It was like the first time I ever liked myself. And, up until that point, I've been chasing like a never ending carrot for like acceptance. And I think one of the reasons why I've been, such a hard worker, but yet I've kind of always gone on a roller coasters. Like I'd make $10,000 in a week and I still would be not happy. Like I would be like, why am I a failure? Why am I not doing good? I still feel this need to impress people. You know what I mean? And it was like, no matter how much I did, it was never good enough, no matter what. And I remember I did 100,000 a month, and I was like, okay, this is where I needed to be. And then I did it, and I still wasn't happy. And I was like, I thought this was going to solve my problem, and it wasn't. And I realized the problem isn't what I'm doing. It's me. I'm the problem. And Tina helped me a lot through that. So that way, I realized I need to just accept who I am and be more forgiving. And that was, I would walk in the room sometimes, in a room with people sometimes, and I would feel kind of like a stranger. I would feel like the oddball, my insecurity. And then after doing this, I had this like strong inner confidence, like people like me for just me. I don't need to tell them how much money I made. I don't need to tell them about my accomplishments. I just can feel good knowing I'm Dave. And I'm Dave who likes playing the guitar. I'm Dave who, likes having fun. I'm a little bit of a goof. I've got a sense of humor, and that's me. The money is all cool, but that doesn't define who I am, and I don't need that. And I got that a lot because of the emotional abuse from my mother. I never got told I love you. I never got that like love when I was younger. And that's what made me feel this constantly be chasing this carrot for acceptance all the time. And it looks like I'm seeing you guys are kind of relating with me in the comments. It sounds like this is something that you guys are struggling with. And I know, like, again, I'm getting really emotional. This is probably a side of me you guys don't see. I know I'm like Dave the Guru to a lot of you guys, but like, I'm deep inside, I'm still a human being just like everybody else. And as humans, no matter where we are, whether you're a celebrity or you're just an average person or you're just whatever, we all have these same feelings, and we still just want to be loved at the end of the day. So anyway, sorry to steal that, Tina, but I felt like it was important for me.
No, it was. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, to me, it's very hard to talk about this because although you gave me a permission to say a lot of stuff, it's quite personal, and I still think it's your decision whether you want to share it or not. So you guys, I'm sorry for, running through the details and maybe not saying it all, and definitely not saying it all. But the point is, like Dave, you said, like I can talk about this, but childhood is very important. Anybody who ever read anything about psychology knows, the Freud jokes about mother and stuff, and that doesn't really come from nowhere because the way our parents treat us, particularly mothers, when we are newborns, where our brains are still developing, that's really crucial because our mothers are the world. Okay, so how our mothers treat us, that's the face of the world we see. And we tend to generalize that picture. And if the mother is not there enough, or if she's abusive, or she's unresponsive, or she's not feeding us when we're hungry or whatever, we tend to expect from the world to treat us the same way. Okay? So somebody say my mom was, but my grandma was in something bad. I don't know.
Well, yeah, that was a bad word.
Okay. Okay. I use bad words myself. I just need a few minutes to, show my true colors. I'm just kidding. So
you can say bad words. I think we all understand. We hear bad words on a daily basis in this business. So it's okay. You can feel free to say whatever you want.
Yeah, alcoholics, dysfunctional parents. I read this. I'm very sorry you had to go through this, but I myself didn't have like ideal parents as well, so I kind of know, personally know, not just from like psychology point of view, from a personal point of view. I know how it looks like, and I know how damaging it can be to go through life with disrupted self-image and unrealistic idea of life and world and everybody else and yourself. Because when when you're a kid,
Remember?
Oh, sorry, I got to mute someone.
I know. We thought it'd be nice for you guys to have a movie to watch tonight, so after
Hold on one
Hot
second.
Food goes down.
Let me just mute everybody.
I mean, it wouldn't be a movie you'd want to have while he was around.
Okay. There you go. Let me just unmute you. Okay, you're good now. I don't know why.
Okay.
Funny things happen sometimes.
No worries. Mm.
Oh my God, Sam! Wow.
Wow. I'm very sorry to hear that. But when your parents treat you that way, I'm not saying. Look, I'm not saying your parents were evil people. Okay, a lot of parents didn't know better, couldn't do better, and I'm not going to talk about your parents today. Okay, because I don't know these people, and because it doesn't matter. What matters is you. Okay, I want to talk about the way it reflected on you, because when we are kids, our parents are everything we want to become. They're our role models. They're what we look up to. So when they make us feel lesser than, when they make us feel like we don't deserve love or we constantly have to fight for it, that kind of a feeling or way of thinking about yourself gets internalized, and we carry it through life with ourselves. And it's very hard to let go of that, because our brains, as I've said, are getting wired the way they are wired, and some certain ways of thinking become patterns for us, become like a program our brain works on. Does that make sense? So it's very hard to let go of your programs. Everybody's programmed by their parents, no matter whether we like it or not. So Dave was programmed by a mother who never showed him love. So you can guess, when a kid is kids are not smart as adults, right? So they're cognitively very limited. So their conclusions don't even have to be logical. Kids conclude based on their feelings, based on the abandonment they feel, based on a lot of stuff that you throw at them. So when you, as a kid, for instance, Dave, when we talked about narcissism, I kind of smelled that it can be such a situation, and I wasn't very far from the truth. When you don't have a parent who shows affection, like real affection and real attention to your needs, to your inner self, who doesn't validate your emotions, who just dismisses them. And when you have a parent who is constantly praising you for external stuff, such as, oh, you got a great mark at school, or you were great at that game, or you just did something that's external that doesn't define you, but it's just a small success or a big one, and then they show you the affection as a kid, you conclude that that is how you get love. And therefore, because you haven't developed an idea of self-worth, that is how you get your self-worth, by chasing that success, okay? And because the hole in your chest that your mother never fulfilled, she never built that love for yourself that you have, it becomes a huge hole in your chest that you can never fill. And you go around, you chase for success, you chase for the money, and it's never enough, simply because you're knocking at the wrong door. The problem is you not loving yourself enough. So this is a very painful thing to realize and to go through. But good news, we can actually work on that. I cannot give you some general advice about this stuff, because everybody is a perfect universe, okay, made from billions of traits, and every situation and every thought that you ever thought and every emotion that you ever felt is who you are. So generalizing conclusions and being like, oh, somebody is a bad person, somebody is a good person, is just illogical, because we are all a mix of good and the bad. It's just that we tend to, I mean, a lot of us who have mental health problems, I mean, a lot of people who have experienced them have a tendency to see themselves through the bad things, okay? Because maybe that's the inner voice we were hearing when we were kids. Maybe that's the way our brains work. Maybe that's how we generalize ourselves based on a few mistakes, or based on the fact that somebody didn't love us enough, and we somehow concluded that it just meant that we weren't worthy of love, which is not correct, okay? So there are ways to go through it, to rewire your brain, to reprogram yourself, but you're gonna need a lot of patience, you're gonna need a lot of self-love, and first step towards it is acceptance, okay? We are angry a lot. Somebody said you had an anger management problem, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so, that's one of the issues.
Yeah, I think they did, and I think, Dave, we didn't maybe really talk about anger as anger, but I think you had that too.
Yeah, I definitely had that.
You kind of had that idea that your mother, mm-hmm. she's done you wrong, right? She treated you very badly, and she absolutely shouldn't have, and that's something we agree on. But it's like you could not accept that and move on. You needed her to accept you, and that's where the conflict is. You are angry at her. You're constantly angry. You're never going to forgive her, because mothers need and have to give love to their children and have to be better than your mother was to you. But at the end of the day, that never happened, and no matter what you did, you cannot change that fact, and you're circling around that, making your anger even worse. So, nobody has to do anything. This is a little hard to swallow, and but I promise, once you really, really realize this and really accept this fact that nothing in the world has to be the way you want it to be, no matter how much it is moral for it to be that way, it would be good, it would benefit you in I don't know how many ways, or it just should be like that. And I can agree 100% with you on a lot of stuff, like rapists shouldn't exist, killers shouldn't exist, but they do. And you wishing them not to will not change anything. I mean, at least not just by thinking about it. When you accept things for what they are, not just thinking positively, being optimistic, that's ignoring the negative part, okay? It's normal to have negative reactions to negative situations or triggers, okay? So as long as you face whatever you're feeling, as long as you accept whatever situation you're at, like no matter how bad it is, no matter how unfair it is, life is unfair. There's so many unfair situations.
I want to stop, interrupt 1 second, Tina, because Sean asked a really good question. I just want to answer this. He said, does anybody feel like dealing with these kind of struggles will be very painful and we will derail your focus on success and this business? So I want to just be very super real with you. So when I was doing this and dealing with my issues and pain with Tina, my business did go down. I experienced about a 30% decrease in my income for the last, for the 3 months that I did this. However, is a 3-month decrease in business because you're putting your focus on improving your life, is that worth the rest of your life of security, confidence, and happiness? Because I don't know about you. I told Tina I would give the hundreds of thousands of dollars in my bank account just for that happiness and just for that pain to go away. And when I started working with her, I said I would give all the money I have to solve this problem. Now, fortunately, I didn't have to do that. But I don't know about you guys, but that pain of not having your mother love you, not being accepted, is way worse than losing a few $1,000 a month. I don't know about you guys, but that's a lot more painful for me than it was. And I tell you what, it's not a permanent thing. And when I went back in action, Tina will remember the day that I said, okay, I'm good now, Tina. Like, I got this. You help me. It's time for me to get to work. I'm ready to fucking rock it. And I did. And that was 1 month ago. In 1 month, I doubled my sales. I don't know if you guys know this, but I just had the best month of business. I did $120,000 in the last 30 days. The month before that, I was at like 48,000. So I never did this much before. And here's the cool part. I did that much money smoothly with no drama, no problems in my life, being able to spend all the time I want with my daughter and my wife. And my relationships have been amazing. I attracted another mentor who's doing 8 figures, who's like a super sweet woman who's helping me so much. Like, so yes, I took a little temporary hit, but then when I got back, and it felt great. It's like, wow, okay, now I'm not doing this to impress people. Now I'm doing this because I just want to crush it and I love what I do. So it's a whole different feeling for me. So I don't know if that helped answer your questions on that, but I think that was a really good question, Sean, because I did feel that way. And it's painful, guys. Like, facing these truths is not easy. I mean, there was like, I had to call Tina at one point. I was like, Tina, I'm not doing well. This is really hard, and she got on the phone with me and she coached me through it. I mean, I was a mess. And I'm not going to lie. I was, like I said, I'm a human being like other people. I was crawled up in a ball on my bed and was like all just the wave of the past hit me, because my brain, my childhood was so bad that my brain had shut off like my memories of being a kid. Like, I forgot what it was like. I always had this like black hole from when I was like 5 years old to when I was like 20. I can't remember. People would tell me, Dave, remember you did this in high school? And I'm like, I don't remember anything from my childhood. And I remember one day, like, everything just came back and hit me all at once. It was like, whoa, I remember the things my dad used to do to me. I remember the times my mom, like the stuff that she used to say to me. I remember like all these horrible events that happened because my memory was coming back, and it was insanely painful. But cool part is it only lasted a couple days. Okay. And then it was like, the Dave came back. It was like the childhood Dave came back. And I was like, I remember when I was younger, I programmed the whole role-playing game in a TI-85 graphing calculator, and it was called Quest for the Holy Grail. I forgot I'd done that. It was just a stupid little thing that was kind of cool because I'm like a video game nerd, right? So it was like, oh, I used to like that. And then I remember I love music. I used to just sit and listen to music albums as a kid and do little things. I remember all these happy moments started coming back after I got rid of all the negative stuff. And it was like this just real solid feeling of happiness that I never really experienced before. And I know it sounds kind of funny to say this stuff, but you can't really describe it until you're there. So, and I appreciate that, Sam. Dave says Dave is the best role model I've ever had. I mean, I do my best. I just try to work on myself. But, they don't expect this to be all fun and games. There is the work that you guys have to do with this. And I'm going to let Tina take over. I just figured I'd share that. But is this so far helping you guys? Like, are you guys enjoying this content up until this point? Has anybody found this like beneficial or where the situation is? Keisha says absolutely. Sam says hell yeah. Elisa says yes. Tyra says awesome. Someone says absolutely. Roy says very good. Okay, cool. Brian says some of you might like to look into The Dark Night of the Soul. I'm not sure if that's a book or something, but okay. Well, Tina, I'm gonna get back to you on this, and we can go over the issues. But yeah, I also want to talk about, we've talked a lot about like my issue, which is more like maybe overconfidence, anger, but there's also people that are kind of depressed and maybe don't have enough confidence, right? That are shy. And that was kind of like, I'm sure Amy doesn't mind me saying, but Amy was like the total opposite of me, where Tina helped Amy a lot with some self-confidence issues to be more assertive and to kind of handle problems head on. There's one thing I did have really good was I was very good at handling problems, and I'm an action taker, but I was like very over aggressive, and that was damaging my relationship. So I do really good, and then I would piss a lot of people off in my life, and then things would fall apart again. So that's like my problem. And then there's other problems where people are like just not handling their problems at all and letting people step on them. So maybe we can talk about that stuff as well. I don't know if anybody else has had those issues.
Yeah, there's so many subjects. It's really hard to, go through all of them and not sound shallow, because I'm kind of fearful that that's how we sound. But I'm just going to go through this very quickly. That very thing that Dave was experiencing, that fake narcissism that he wore as a mask, and that those memories that came back to him were a result of, finally accessing something that was so deeply suppressed. Okay, it was so brain does that. For instance, when you have a huge trauma, brain tends to go to amnesia, to completely forget it. It locks it in a box in the back of your head, and it's like, nope, no access there, because who knows how you're going to react. It's going to probably block block you, you know, and no matter how much you ignore it, it's still there. If you don't face it now, it's going to be there, creeping under. You know, you might not be aware of it, but it kind of shapes the way you think. It kind of shapes the way you act, the way you read through things and see things, and the meaning that you put on certain stuff in life, and trust issues and whatever it is. So it's all coming really from the very same place, and that's not having enough of something in your childhood. I mean, not all of it, but a good part of that. When it comes to having a low self-esteem, it's because you just weren't told, or you weren't giving enough of affection. Okay, what did you say? I might suggest breaking the habit of being yourself. Book 2. Okay, thanks. You guys can send me like whatever you want, links and stuff to me and Dave later.
I just want to say, I see you guys recommending a lot of books, and I want to tell you, there's an old proverb, Chinese proverb, that says, the 15 minutes over the desk of a wise man is worth 1,000 books. I think books are great, but in the last 3 years, guys, I read over 750 books, and I still had these problems. Literally 750 books. I've read every psychology book. I've read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People over 20 times. I taught seminars on it, and I still had these issues, guys. So it's important. It's like trying to read a book on surgery and fixing your heart. You need to do it over and over again if someone is gonna get good at that. So a book is only helpful for just to be aware of the problem, maybe, but to fix it, like Tina fixed me in 1.5 months with 750 books couldn't do, if that makes sense. So I just, I wanted to share that, if that makes sense.
One more thing, guys. I highly recommend educating yourselves. Like, I'm really not against it, and I think it would make your vision brighter, and you will be able to, separate scam and fake life coach, motivational speakers and stuff like that from actual professionals who know what they're doing. But actually self-diagnosing and seeing yourself through the examples you see in books is very risky, because once you read all of that stuff, you kind of recognize yourself in a lot of them, and you get in a situation, oh my God, I have a disorder, I have this, I have that. Honestly, as a psychology student who had to read through all of that, I was like recognizing myself in hundreds of them, like, what the heck? What am I having? Like, is it possible to have this many disorders and stuff and problems? And then a professor of mine told me, like, oh, don't worry. It's a problem when you recognize yourself in only one. Because all of these disorders, those are the boxes psychiatrists and psychologists made in order to be able to recognize the corpus of the problem and then treat it effectively. So this is not something you should use to see yourself through. Even if you have a disorder, even if you have any label or name, that doesn't define you. Okay, I really want you to really take a minute to swallow this. Okay, it doesn't define you. Whatever problem that you have, it doesn't define you. You can work on it. If you define yourself by anything, by a problem, by a bad trait, there are people who genuinely believe that they are not good enough, that they are not worthy enough, that they're bad people, that they should be feeling guilty for something, and they just let that guilt eat them from the inside. Whatever of these things, okay? There is a way to find your inner child again and to be a parent to yourself, to give yourself all the things that your parent didn't give you. And because Dave is so open, and I'm honestly very inspired by his strength and everything that he's been, showing me as a person and as everything in our contact. I'm going to share some of my personal stuff as well, because I dealt with a bad relationship with my father. He was kind of abusive. I'm not going to go through it, but therefore I suffered a lot of those problems that you mentioned, like anxiety, depression, and all of it. And even when I got to psychology studies, I still thought that, oh no, I'm fine. It's not that serious. I'm handling it. And I'm constantly unhappy. And I'm constantly, until at one point, it just came back for me in uglier ways. I started having emotional problems, and I just erupted, and I was impulsive, and stuff like that happens, okay? Everybody is a person. We are all mistakable human beings. You have to accept yourself. You have to stop demanding that you have to be happy at every point of your life. That's crazy. Nobody is happy at every point of their lives, okay? That is bullshit. That's a lie. That's an Instagram lie. You know, happy selfies. Do not demand from yourself to be happy all the time. It is completely normal to have a sad reaction to a sad event. This is why thinking positively and positive psychologists, that doesn't work, because that's not facing the reality. Okay, that is running away from your problems. That is staying in denial just so you can feel happy for the moment. That's not what you need to go for. You need to, you know, get your courage together and be like, okay, this is sad, this is huge, this is making me feel overwhelmed by everything, but I need to look it in the eye, okay, and see it for what it is, whatever the problem is. If the problem is me, if the problem is my father, if the problem is the world or my friends, or yeah, social media is, yeah, it's just a highlight, and it's sometimes not even a highlight. It's like a super photoshopped, overly happy highlight that doesn't even exist in real life, and it is a source of a lot of people's anxiety and depression, and like, oh, look at all of these people living these perfect happy lives, and nobody is really. It's Photoshop lie that they sell to us. But that's a long story. What I wanted to say, you can rebuild yourself most of the time. Sometimes the damage is great, and you cannot do it completely, and it's okay to, you know, accept that you're never gonna be, like, none of us is perfect. Even people who had great parents and had enough love and everything, even they can have problems. It's okay to have problems. Stop demanding from yourself to be perfect. It's one thing, though, to be sad. It's a completely other thing to be depressed. The difference between those two things is the way we think. So this is the part when I want to talk about how the way we think and our belief system affects our emotions, okay? So we can be anxious and we can be concerned. We can be sad and we can be depressed. I think you see the difference, okay? So being depressed is being overwhelmed by sadness. Being depressed means generalizing the whole negative event and negative emotion to the whole life, making the whole life pointless, making the future completely black, making yourself hopeless, a feeling like there's nothing else for you to ask for in life because somebody asked for suicidal thoughts, okay? Generalizing is a logical mistake. Generalizing is simply not correct. Reacting to a loss, or say, like, I'm just going to go with the extreme example, okay? You lose someone you love, okay? You lose someone you're really close to. Either they die or you just, you know, grow apart, and there's a hole inside of you, and you're just, you know, we've all been there. Our heart is broken, and it's one thing to face the situation and to let that sadness help us adapt to the situation and to the loss and acknowledge that it is there and not overwhelm us. And we think like it's okay, I've lost something that I really loved and it's not there anymore and it's going to be super hard, but I'm going to give myself time to feel this. I'm not going to run away from it. I'm not going to be positive about it. I'm going to let myself feel it because I'm a human being and I have feelings, and that's how human beings work, okay? Don't be judgmental to yourself or to others. Give yourself a permission to feel. That's the first thing that I would recommend you guys to do. But there's a difference between letting yourself feel and letting yourself be overwhelmed by it. How do you accept that? It's been almost 2 years for me trying to accept and move on. Well, this is what I want to say. Behind being sad is a rational way of thinking and rational perception of loss. Of course, you're sad because you're experiencing a loss, okay? But if you're depressed, that means you're overwhelmed, like every sphere of your life, even the spheres of your life, fields of your life that you haven't experienced loss at, you feel sad over them too, and you feel there's no hope in any point at any sphere of your life at all, and nothing makes sense anymore. Okay, that's generalizing. That's a logical way of thinking, and it's really hard for me to convince you to just change the way you think in this brief running through things. But that is actually what makes a crucial difference, and we need to practice being taken advantage of. It's the same thing, like you are angry because somebody took advantage of you. Being angry is healthy in this situation. I mean, feeling that frustration, feeling being betrayed, it's not a pleasant feeling. You cannot just be happy about it, right? And I really, as a therapist, wouldn't advise you to try being happy about somebody, breaking your heart. But I'm sorry, I lost it. Where was I?
The anger and aggression. Actually, I'll step in on that because I had that same problem. Christian had asked, how about anger and aggression when people are taken advantage of? And he said, I'm vengeful. So I had kind of like an anger problem myself too, Christian. And I remember when I told Tina that, like, I had a person, because I had some issues, some people did some wrong stuff to me in my business and I was upset. And she said, well, like, first off, I had to feel like sad that happened. And instead of like anger comes from a point of fear, right? Anger is just fear manifested into a different, like, it's just a mask, right? So like I had to feel sad, like, oh, this kind of sucks that this person is doing this to me. I feel sad. Now I don't, of course, let them step on me, but it was more like instead of getting mad and getting angry, because what would happen is I would get really angry at that person, and then I would get angry at everybody else I talked to that day because I'm in this state of anger. I'm feeling this general anger that of upset. And then when she told me how to be more like, okay, this is unfortunate and it's sad, and I don't like what this person did to me, but I feel it and like get emotional about it, I was able to be more relaxed. So that way when I was around other people, because when something bad happens to someone, people do have sympathy. They feel bad when someone takes advantage of you, right? But because I was getting angry, it wasn't allowing other people to have some sympathy when someone did something to me. They thought it almost made me the bad guy because I went to the same level as that person who was wronging me. I don't know if Tina, my answer is helpful or anything on this, but is that you could break it down a little better.
Okay. So is there anything else you want to say?
No, that's it. I just wanted to experience like how that change helped me a lot. And reducing the anger made so much of a difference because also like the more angry I got, it attracted more anger and more drama. And then when I removed the anger, it was like all that drama and all those problems started going away.
It's a circle, okay? Because anger reinforces anger, and all of these feelings are pretty much keeping themselves alive inside of you if you don't do something about it. Behind every feeling is a way of thinking or is a belief system. So what I worked on with Dave, we worked on that belief system, because when you're angry at somebody doing you wrong, okay, it comes from the way you think about it. Feeling as a feeling has no function if it's not connected to the meaning it has to you. Okay, so you need to rethink the meaning you're giving to things happening to you, because sometimes they are not really beneficial to you. Okay, let's stick to beneficial, not illogical, irrational, because it's okay to be irrational, but just look at the ways you act as some patterns that you should either keep or let go of, depending on if they're beneficial to you or not. So how the heck is being depressed over something beneficial to you? How is being anxious about something beneficial to you? Or being constantly angry and yelling at people, even if you're right, it's not beneficial to you. This is why you need to let it go, okay? So you need to find better ways to deal with stuff. And how do you do that? You manage your way of thinking. So you go like, okay, this person, there was this person we talked about. I don't want to go into this, but somebody was a real jerk to Dave. Let's just put it that way. And Dave was very hurt, and he was very angry, and he was very frustrated, as anyone would be in his situation. But what he didn't realize is he was giving this tiny meaning, but there was this tiny meaning behind his emotions that he shouldn't and he couldn't and he mustn't act that way, but he could. That's the demand thing that I was talking about. No, you can't, that anger that you're having is because you don't want to face the reality. And the reality is that somebody can treat you badly. And life can be unfair. And everything can happen exactly the way you fear from it, fear about. So it's about managing the way you think about it, okay? That guy didn't treat me right. Do I need him to treat me right? Do I really need it that badly? Do I really need it to survive, to feel good about myself? Does it actually attack my idea of self-worth? No. I'm a worthy person. I am a smart person. And if somebody treated me badly, that doesn't define me. That defines them. And although I do feel unpleasant about it, I'm just going to accept it. I'm not going to waste my energy on something that's not beneficial to me in any way. And I'm going to move on. And that's how you keep your healthy anger, because it's okay, to feel a little bit of anger. In my language, there's actually 2 words for that. So for a healthy anger and for an unhealthy one. But I think you guys can sense where the fine line is. The fine line with emotions is always where the overwhelming part comes in. When you're overwhelmed by any emotion, then you can just say to yourself, like, stop. What kind of meaning am I giving to that stuff that's happening to me that's making me feel this much? Okay, because listen, there are certain stuff in life that are really horrible, and I'm not going to go through that. Like, you can all think about a few things, but most of the time we are feeling bad about things that are not that hard. They are hard to deal with, and they're super stressful, and we get super emotional and super hurt. But going through a divorce, for instance, it can be a huge trauma. It can be disconnecting from somebody that you built your life with. But does divorce really mean the ending of life? This sounds a bit harsh, okay? I know it does, but it's the way of thinking that is behind it that's going to lead you to actually moving on or no, okay? And it's a little hard to present it to you in this brief conversation and actually convince you to take the advice. But just so you know, even theory says this. It's one thing to realize what is the right way to treat a problem, what is the right way to deal with a situation, and it's completely a different thing to actually start feeling that way. For instance, my sister, she's a perfectionist. She's a huge perfectionist, okay? She got like highest marks on her college, and he's now on the highest PhD level of molecular biology, whatever, and she actually got herself into an autoimmune disease because of stress she was experiencing. And she and I worked on this, and she was like, yes, I do understand all of this you're talking about, but I just still feel the same way. So if you guys find yourself feeling like this, like I rationally do realize what am I supposed to do, but I still feel overwhelmed by sadness, by depression, by anxiety, by whatever. Remember this, your brain is a program. You don't just say click and it just starts working different way. No, that's the program you have. You have to make an alternative ways for your brain to choose. It's like you've used to reacting a certain way. So now you have to practice thinking and reactive an alternative way, okay? So then when you come to a situation, you can choose which way you want to go. It's always going to be easier to go the way you're just programmed to go with anger or sadness or whatever, hits you. But the rational part of yourself, your mindset, you choose your mindset. You choose which way you want to go. But in order to have an alternative, you have to work on it. What this means is you have to practice that way of thinking, even if it's completely the opposite of what you're feeling right now at the moment. You have to think about it that way. You have to make yourself realize that you're maybe overgeneralizing, that you're maybe demanding from people to treat you a certain way, which is just not realistic. You cannot demand from somebody to love you or to treat you right or not to betray you, although it might be fair to. It still wouldn't make it happen, okay? So facing the reality, accepting yourself, accepting whatever's happening to you. And then acceptance is healing, because acceptance really clears your mind and lets you see the options, okay? When you're overwhelmed by emotions, you only see black. You only see your feelings. You only see through your feelings. You're really not able to see the whole picture. Like when Dave said, but the way I am, I'm a bit narcissistic, but it kind of drives me, and I'm good in my business because I'm the way I am, right, Dave? That's what you were
I did see a couple people in the comments say that too, and I was going to say something about that because I remember telling Tina, but like my anger makes me successful. My anger makes you that drive. But then you said, no, that's not what makes me. Go ahead.
No.
I'll let you tell it. Sorry.
No. Okay. So it's pretty much the same thing as people say for artists, that they need to be a little crazy or a little depressed in order to write some cool songs or make some art or stuff like that. That's not true. Okay. You're either creative or you're not. You're either a worker and an entrepreneur. Is that a word?
Entrepreneur. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You're either that or you're not. Okay. Those are completely things that don't have to be so connected as you might imagine. Okay, you can keep that part of yourself.
And I didn't want to believe you when you told me that either. I fought Tina on this. I kind of argued, and then I was like, okay, fine. I know you know better than I do on this, so I'm just gonna buy it. And man, I had to work hard on that for like 2 weeks. I had to just practice not getting angry. And it's weird. At first you feel like kind of like a clumsy kid again, like trying to walk and you're like falling and you're stumbling. And I was like, Tina, I don't get how to do this. So I had to ask like how to handle my business now without being angry and relearn the way of thinking. But when I did, I became strong, very strong and more stable now. And now my anger is gone and I'm making way more than I made before. Now I've literally made more money this month than I ever have in my entire life in 1 month.
And you haven't been that angry.
With that? And I haven't been angry at all. I've been great, actually. It's been fantastic.
So I'm asking you a question, like, do you want success with anger, or do you want the very same success without anger?
I will tell you right now that success without anger is much more pleasant and happy than the success with the anger. Because the success with the anger came at a very strong price. And the price was every night I would go to sleep and I couldn't sleep. I would go, why am I not happy? What's going to fall apart tomorrow? Who's going to get mad at me? I lived in constant fear of what's going to happen to my business, who's not going to like me. When I walk in a room, what are people going to say about me? And I always had that. And that fear is nothing I would ever wish on anybody ever again. And now that it's gone, it is so much better to have success without that fear.
I have to jump in here. This is, remember when I was telling you about the mother who just praises the kid for doing external stuff? So it kind of survives somehow through our adulthood. And that is the thing with Dave. He is so invested in his business because it's more than business to him. It's almost like self-validating. It's how he gets the idea of being worthy enough. And we worked on rebuilding that self-worth and disconnecting it from any external source, because guess what? Life is ups and downs, and tomorrow your business might fall apart, your marriage might fall apart, anything you define yourself through might fall apart. That still wouldn't mean that you're not worthy, that you should not fight for yourself, that you shouldn't know why you are a worthy person. You have to be aware of that. That fear comes from the focus on all the things that you're not, on that feeling of not being good enough. And whatever you are, whatever you do, whoever you are, guys, I promise you are good enough, okay? You have to be good enough because you are the only you'll get. Don't buy anything else. Don't try to be anyone else. The only person you're competing is yourself. And unless you let go of toxic patterns that keep you circling in negative and unhealthy emotions, you're not going to be able to be productive. That's the beneficial part we're talking about. So this is what happened. Dave let go of his anger. He instead learned how to be assertive, and I can talk about that in a minute. But
actually, can I say something really quick to give an example? So what would happen is, and I'm sure you guys can relate to this. So I would, you guys know I make a lot of money, obviously, and there would be times where this happened when, like, within the first 2 months, a month and a half talking to Tina. I remember I was, 1 week we made like $25,000, and the next week I only made like 10,000. And then when that dip happened, that's where, like, when everything's good, I'm like, yeah, I'm fired up. Then when it went bad, that's where my anger would kick in, because I would start getting mad at everyone. I get mad at my employees, I get mad at Amy, and I'd start swearing, what the fuck is, what's going on here? Why are we not doing stuff? What are you doing? Like, and instead of attacking the problem very calmly and assertively,
yes,
I would start attacking the people who have been helping me, and then it would damage me more, because then they would have resentment because I would get mad, and that anger came out of my own fear, my own insecurities of my self-worth. So I would take it out on them. So now when we have a little off month, it's like, okay, now I'm like, hey guys, what's going on? I know this business is a little bit slower right now. What can I do for you guys to make things a little bit better? And now I'm able to communicate them nicely. And so now my employees are highly motivated, and my friends, they want to support me and help me, because now I'm treating them like gold, and now I'm not getting angry. And even when things are getting tough, I'm not losing control. I'm completely emotionally in control, and I'm able to have a very detailed, healthy conversation with them to get back to where we were. And can anybody relate to that? Has anybody ever gotten mad, because things kind of went up and down and you get pissed off? I'm not sure we all can relate to that. I hope I'm not like, I hope you guys aren't judging me all. Chris says yes all the time. Sam says yeah. Amber says, oh yeah. So I feel like I wanted to really be vulnerable and tell you guys what that was like, so you could see the benefit of it, if that makes sense.
So that anger is also, it's not only something you throw at other people, it's something you throw at yourself.
And I hate, like, sometimes I would get so mad, like my blood would feel like it would be boiling. I could feel like my veins get tight, and I get a headache in my head, and it would just feel this horrible uneasiness. It's almost like a sick feeling, but you're not really sick, but you're like, you feel sick because you're like, your blood gets acidic, you get stressed out, and I would get like heart palpitations and severe anxiety. So anxiety is something I dealt with. Like, I know you guys probably know my story about how I had social anxiety, and I would freeze up and I get worried what people thought of me, and that all boiled down to that insecurity and that low self-esteem, and that caused me tons of anxiety. And I get so nervous talking to people before. Like, now I'm a lot more slower and more confident, but before I'd get really fast talking, and I'd feel weird. I was going to say the wrong thing to someone. I was like hoping, oh, please, I hope I don't say the wrong thing, and they're going to get mad at me. And that's not like that anymore. Now I have strong confidence. I don't really give a shit whether they get mad at me, because I at least know how to handle it. And I don't validate myself on my achievements. I don't validate myself on like what somebody thinks about me. I honestly don't care anymore what people think. I don't really give a shit. And if you don't like me, I realize now it's not my fault problem. And also, if you don't like me, I don't get mad and want to punch you in the face anymore like I used to, because that was my thing. I used to, like, I had my fist like this once to Tina. I'm like, Tina, I'm so fucking mad. Oh, I was like, you guys probably never see me, but I was so angry. And she's like, well, Dave, you have a right to be angry, but what is this doing for you? And I was like, not much. I feel like a total idiot.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he didn't. The point is, like, he didn't need that external validation anymore. He realized that as a person, he's awesome. He just is, and he found enough things to hold on to and to remember why. Who is Dave? Like, when you strip all the things, all the external things, like the success, the money, or connections to other people. Like, I want you guys to ask yourselves, when you're alone, like, who is the person you're going to sleep with? What are their hopes? What are their dreams? What are the good things you did? What are the good things that you feel? Why are you a worthy person? I'm 100% sure there's a lot of reasons to love yourself. Absolutely, a lot of them. And they don't have to be some huge important reasons. Oh, I'm Mother Teresa, this is why I'm a good person. No, like, you can love yourself for tiny things. You can love the way you smile. You can love the color of your voice, although nobody does, but you get the point. Like, you can love the way you look. You can you can say, I'm a good listener. I'm a good friend. I'm a good daughter, or define yourself through a lot of relationships and stuff like that. But the point is to be okay with yourself and to slowly and patiently build that idea of yourself as a worthy person inside of yourself, to have this at all times without having anybody else take it away from you, because that's you. That's the relationship you have with yourself. And I think a lot of us in childhood, me included, I had to relearn to love myself. I had to learn that relationship to myself. And I wasn't similar to Dave. We're pretty different as people, but it comes really from the same place. His mother didn't really give a damn, and my dad really didn't give a damn. Okay, so, and my dad was, for instance, my dad was abusive a little bit. He thought that it was a normal thing to beat a child, and it kind of gets you to the point where you grow up with that feeling that whatever you do, you're gonna get punished because you're bad, because you're just not good enough, because everything you do is wrong, because you're not smart, because you're not this, you're not that, you're not this, and you go through life without really thinking about it, but you have that kind of a program inside your brain and you carry it around, okay? So being a parent to myself meant that whenever I feel that self-loathe or anger directed towards myself, I ask myself, would I do this to my best friend? If my best friend had this problem, and if he or she approached me and say, hey, Tina, I have this problem, this is how I feel, would these be the words that I say to him? Or you're nothing, you're worthless, you're never going to make it, you're never going to be enough. No, like, remember talking to your friends when they have, yes, talk to yourself like you would to someone you love, because you should be someone you love. And you should practice that. Remember when I said, like, just realizing what you should do is not enough, because you're still going to feel the other way if you don't practice thinking the way you should. If you don't build the alternative in your brain, talk to yourself as if you were someone you love, because you need to love yourself. Not narcissistically, not like, oh, look at me, I'm the prettiest person in the world. Wait, no. Don't do that, okay? That's not what I'm talking about. It's like positive psychology thing, okay? Don't lie to yourself that things are perfectly perfect. Don't do that. Just see yourself for what you are. Accept yourself for whatever you are. Somebody mentioned eating disorder. It comes from the very same place, not accepting the way you look. I promise, your body is beautiful, okay? Maybe not by Victoria's Secret angel standards. I don't care. They have to starve themselves and work out 20 hours a day for that. Do you want to have that kind of life? No, you have other life choices, which makes you an interesting person maybe. Maybe you have other talents. Maybe you're just a great person to hang out with. Maybe you are, I don't know, wonderful in so many other ways. Stop defining yourself through that one thing you're just not super happy about. And if it's bugging you so much that you really, really just can't stand it, then just start from acceptance. That's like the most important advice I have for you guys today. Whatever your problems are, first face them. Do not lie to yourself. Do not be in denial. Do not try to make them positive. Do not try to make them negative. See them for for what they are, and then accept them. When you accept them, when you give yourself time to digest whatever it is, then you can choose the strategy to solve a freaking problem, whatever it is. If it's your self-image, if you think like, I don't know, maybe you're overweight and it's affecting your health. Okay, then I'm going to lose some weight because I love myself, not because I hate myself, not because I deserve to die and to just hide under my sheets for the rest of my life for no one to see me. No, you are going to go to that gym because you love your body and because you want to do, you want to do good to yourself.
Can I say something there? Actually, I want to tell you something, Tina. I haven't told you this yet, actually, and this is kind of embarrassing, but, I had an issue with weight myself, and I used to always, like, if I have, like, a couple extra pounds on me, I I would like feel like, oh, I'm ugly, I'm fat. And everybody's like, what are you talking about, Dave? You're in great shape. And I'm like, no, I don't, I've always been into fitness. So I don't, if I don't like have abs or I'm not like, I don't look, perfect, then it's not good enough. And Amy used to say, oh no, you look fine. And I would worry about that all the time. And then when you told me to accept myself, I started just accepting that. And, I actually gained weight because of that, because what would happen is I'd lose weight and then I'd be so hard on myself. Then it would cause me stress and then I'd overeat and then I'd put the weight on. So I could never I was always like ballooning.
Yeah.
But actually now I used to drink like quite a bit of wine every night too, by the way. So if you're talking about, it was an addiction, but I drank probably more than I should have. And I haven't drank in 2 weeks, stopped completely. I lost 2 inches off my weight and I put on about 12 pounds of muscle. And it was because I used to think, well, no, if I hate myself and I'm not satisfied, it's going to make me more motivated. And then it actually works against me. It caused me stress. Now I'm like, if I eat a chocolate bar, I don't freak out because I freaking ate a chocolate bar. Like, oh, Jesus, I ate the chocolate bar. I'm a fatso. Let me just eat all this food and like start shoving my face. That's what I used to do before. And I don't know if anybody can relate to that. And I'm being vulnerable. But that's what would happen is I would like end up overeating because I'd beat myself up and do that. Now it's like, all right, I ate a fucking chocolate bar. I wanted a chocolate. I'm happy. I look great. I feel good. I love myself. I don't really give a shit. And then I was like, okay, I'm not ballooning like this all the time. So I never told you that helped me as well, Tina, but.
Yeah, thank you. Somebody said, I'll eat tacos every day. That's not the point, okay? The point is, when you look at every action of yours as an act of favor to yourself, I don't mean like ignoring other people's needs and being a Machiavellist and running through dead bodies and hurting people. I think about like general choices in life. If you choose to eat a bunch of tacos right now just to feel happy right now, it's in the long run not beneficial to you. So it's really not an act of love. Okay? So another important thing, you can change your height though. I'm sorry, can you finish that question?
You can't change your height though. How do you become okay with that?
Okay, as a really short girl, I was constantly feeling like I was like every girls were tall and I was like stuck in 8th grade, not moving anywhere. So I don't know. I just kind of accepted it. It's your genetics. It's something that maybe connects you to your mom. If you're like, for instance, look at me. I have a tiny, tiny thing on my nose. Okay, you might not see this here, but it kind of made me insecure for a long time. And at one point, I just saw, I love my mom. I'm really connected to her, and I think she's a wonderful person, and she gave me so much in her life. And yeah, you're not your height, exactly. But you're not your nose, you're not your weight, you're not your eyes, you're not your bad trait, you're not your narcissism, you're not your mental problem, you're not any of that, okay? You are a universe. This is what I told you, and you're constantly changing. And when you label yourself like you are something bad, a label is a constant. Okay, it's a definite mark on yourself that you put on yourself. You're not giving yourself a chance to try to be better. You're just labeling yourself and staying there, and you're not moving. Like, I'm bad. This is it. No. Instead, every action you do is something that makes you who you are. Make sure that you're making choices you're happy with. So if that means I really need to eat a taco right now, so if this is what my body asks for me to do, I'm just going to go do it. I'm not going to overeat for the rest of the week. Then I'm going to try to go like clean. But if I do need it now, I'm not going to, eat myself up about it and beat myself up. No, just have a goddamn taco. Nobody got overweight by one meal. Okay? That's the approach you need. Starving yourself is also not a good idea. But what I wanted to say about my nose, you were mentioning height. I really never was that insecure about my height. I was definitely aware of it, but I was not that insecure. There are a lot of other things that I was insecure about. I also thought I was fat, which was completely untrue. But that was my self-image. And this is a good example of how, you see how tiny hands I have. I'm quite skinny actually, but I did not see it that way when I was a teenager. And a lot of us go through that, and some of us even stay in that kind of mindset when we're older. So this is why I want to talk about it.
Actually, I want to stop for a second, Tina, because we've been going for quite a while, and I just want to I want to make sure that this is really important. If you guys, first of all, let me ask you this: who found this valuable? Can you guys just tell me like what you guys like the most about this, or if you can rate this? Because Tina was a little nervous to come on today; she was not sure, how you guys were going to enjoy this, or how you're going to like it. But it's Keisha says extremely. Tara says 10. Elisa says 10. Oh, good. I'm glad this was helpful for you guys. Sean says, I appreciate it. Chris is very helpful. Shannon says, very nice. George says, being happy with who I am. So I think here's the thing. If you are struggling with issues, and we all have a lot of issues, right? If you have a divorce, breakup, eating disorder, all those problems you guys talked about, anger, anxiety, fears, right? Like if there's problems with childhood, here's the problem, right? We can't choose who our parents were, right? I can't change my mom, can't change my dad, certainly can't change my dad. He's in the grave right now. There's nothing I can do about that. But what we can do is we can choose what we do with our life from here on, right? And, I've read a lot of books, and I've seen a lot of people who become like self-help junkies, where they're reading books and they think the books are going to change their life. And they're putting that label on the books, like, I'm going to read this book, and once I read all these books, then that's going to fix my problem. And then it's a never-ending carrot with that too. And you ever seen anybody who just constantly reads all kinds of self-help stuff and does all this? But then, so the thing is, we can't choose our parents, but what we can choose is we can buy love, literally buy it. And I'll tell you what I mean. I bought Tina's care for me, right? Tina showed me the empathy and the care I needed that I never got from my parents. And I think empathy is the fuel for emotional healing. And Tina was able to give me that empathy is what I needed. And that's where it was like, wow, somebody cares about me more than my own mom did. And that's where really things started changing. And that I think is important, because you can't get that in a book. You can't get that in advice. You can't get that in a course. You can only get that from another human being. And why I think whether, if you want to talk to Tina yourself and you want to work with Tina, or you want to find a therapist, I think it's really crucial if you are struggling with this and you're serious about changing your life. And I'll tell you, it does feel amazing. It's very crucial to have someone that cares about you to do this. Because I like when I was with Tina, like on these calls, it was a feeling I never felt before. It's like, wow, I knew I wasn't perfect. I knew I was like, I had these problems, but Tina didn't judge me. She didn't criticize me. She said, you're a strong person, Dave. You went through things that no child really ever should. And she believed in me. And I was like, wow, nobody ever talked to me like this. And that's where my mindset started to change, because a book wouldn't tell me that stuff. I couldn't get that from a book, because no matter what, I wouldn't believe it. Even when the book says you need to love yourself, you need to do this, until, someone really actually did that, it didn't change. So I just want to encourage everybody, guys, if this is something that you like, please take action and follow through if it's something that you want to change.
Well, find yourself somebody to talk to. Really, you do not have to be mentally disturbed or schizophrenic. Really, it could be working on yourself, managing your emotions. It can really help you in the long run to be happier, to be healthier, and to be more productive, to be able to choose what you're going to do and not being driven by an overwhelming emotion that's not even healthy or logical or should be there in the first place. So another thing that I want to say before we end up, it's an investment. Guys, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I've been through that process myself, okay? And it's kind of the reason why I got into therapy, learning therapy, because I was so inspired by the way it works, okay? So if you're looking for a therapist, my honest recommendation would be to look for rational emotive behavioral therapists or cognitive behavioral therapists, because those are really structured therapies that really give you stuff to work with. It's not just, interpreting what your mother meant for the rest of your life. It's actually giving you tools to cope with it, to build some coping mechanisms that will get you through situations and, to learn how to self-manage. That is my recommendation. Also, one thing I want to leave you with is I think a lot of us have a wrong definition of love. And I've learned that through my own therapy process. And it was very, very powerful to me. Might not be so powerful to you, but I want to just say what my therapist said to me when I needed to hear it. Love is not an emotion, okay? even when you feel like that, even when you say it and you mean it. Love is not that feeling and sensation that you have in yourself. That's like being in love. Love is a huge, huge thing, because love means doing good to a person you love. Doing good for the person you love. So making that person, like investing your time, investing your energy, investing your attention and your care and your gentleness in order to make another person happy. That is love. Actually working your ass off on it, okay? Working your ass off in order to get somebody happy. So it's the same thing when it comes to self-love, okay? It's not a feeling like I look in the mirror and I feel in love with myself. It's not about that. It's making these small choices and constantly working on making yourself happy because you love yourself. And the same way, okay, so the same way you would treat a partner, like remember how many times you were in love with the person you were aware is not perfect, but you accepted him or her and you love them for who they are. So why is it so hard to love yourself? Okay, that's the thought that I want to leave you with. I would really like you to rethink that idea of not being good enough. Somebody said that they had suicidal thoughts. I really, really want to be serious about this. If you ever get that kind of thoughts again, please, please, please reach to a professional, okay? Please do not go through that yourself. Nobody should go through that themselves, okay? You should not be alone in it. I personally don't think as a therapist that I would be able to take that responsibility, but I'm pretty sure that there are people where you are who can actually answer a phone call and get you whatever you need. Surround yourself with support. It's okay to ask for support. People, please do not feel ashamed. Like whatever you're feeling, everybody's going through it. It's just that nobody's talking about it. Okay, it doesn't make you less of a person if you feel things. So if you have any kind of a problem that might lead you to take away your life or to harm yourself or to do anything that you don't really want to do, just you're driven by your emotions, please ask for help. It's like going to the dentist. If your teeth is hurting, you go see a person who can fix it. It is okay. It is not a taboo anymore. It's 21st century. Do good to yourself, invest in yourself, work on yourself, because that is love. Love is working on yourself because you want to make yourself happier. You want to do good to yourself. And the same thing to others. So be acceptive, is that a word? So accept yourself. Acceptance leads to love, because love is never based on someone being perfect, okay? You never love somebody just because they're perfect. If they're perfect, that means you're idealizing them and you're in love. You're overwhelmed with that butterfly feeling you see in movies, and it goes away in 2 months and you're like, what the heck? I'm seeing a person, an actual person that's not perfect, because he is not. Girls, ladies, sorry, no guy is perfect. Same things goes for boys. No woman is perfect. So the same way you accept that, the same way you accept death, the same way you accept life, you accept yourself. Acceptance is a very important thing. Once you accept things, you can choose how you react. And you can practice the way you think behind the way you react and the way you feel. You can control and like manage your emotions, okay? You can. It's not hard right now. It takes a lot of work, but it's absolutely doable. And you have a living example out here named Dave Kościuszko. Did I pronounce that right?
Well, you pronounce it right the Polish way, yes, which it is Polish. That's how it's said in Polish, Kościuszko. It's Kosciuszko in American, yeah.
Kosciuszko, right? Okay.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Tina, for coming on here today. And I just want to let you guys know, Tina said that she's willing to do, if you guys want to talk to her personally, she's willing to do a 10-minute private session for free with any of you guys. If you have any questions for her, you want to talk to her about something personal, or if you're maybe interested in working with her or something like that, and we're thinking about maybe doing an hour with her. So feel free to reach out and she'll do a 10-minute session with you if you'd like. I just want to let you guys know, normally when I promote someone in the group, I get like what's called an affiliate, or it's a promotion. This is not a promotion thing. I get nothing out of this, out of the enjoyment of helping you guys, because this changed my life. And Tina has now become a good friend of mine. And I think Her abilities are absolutely amazing. I've never seen anybody as good as her. I'd be 100%. Amy went to a therapist for 3 weeks and didn't get the value that she got out of Tina in 15 minutes. Like Tina did more in 15 minutes for my wife than a professional therapist in a hospital did in 3 weeks worth of work. So that's why I felt like people need to know about her, and I wanted to share this with you guys. So whatever you guys do, if you decide to work with her, I don't get anything out of this or anything like that. Just wanted to let that be clear. If you do decide to work with Tina, she does have very reasonable rates. I don't want you to be intimidated by, like, I don't want to reach out to her because, you know, I want to find someone that's, you know, super inexpensive. Her rates are very affordable for the people that in this group. I promise that. So she's just amazing what she does, and she's able to do this through Skype and video. That's how we did the therapy, just like you guys are doing now. So if you're interested, someone says I should get a finder's fee. I don't want a finder's fee. What I want is for you guys to get the value out of this and go kick ass in life and change lives, because this is not the only reason I don't do these things just to make money. It makes me feel good to know that I'm helping other people. So if anything, that's my selfish motive here, is because, you know, it makes me feel good helping people.
Yeah, that's very selfish, Dave. How dare you? Anyway, guys, I wanted to say something. Although Dave's words are very affirmative, and I'm very proud with the results that we made, this was not like, I don't want you to feel like, hey, I'm the best therapist in the world, go see me. This is not it, okay? And if for whatever reason you don't think you would be connected with me, or if you don't connect with me, it's fine. I just want to encourage you to find somebody you're connected with. Find somebody that you can work with, whatever your problems are. And some of the problems that you stated here are very serious and really need to be worked on in order to get to your, you know, a good version of yourself that you can go through life with and be happy with. Please find whoever works for you and work on yourself, because that's loving yourself, okay? Thank you. Somebody said I was a great therapist. Continue, please. I'm just kidding. Okay, so anyone wants to contact me, I have my Facebook profile. I think Dave tagged me below that Facebook post, so just feel free to message me whenever. And
Tina has an Instagram. You can follow her on Instagram if you want. She has a Facebook profile. Her name is right here. It's under Hristina. I can't say her name. Sorry, I still bots that.
No, it's good. It's good.
Thing, you know?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, you can add her on Facebook if you want to add her as a friend. She's very cool. She's not going to snub you or anything like that. She even has a YouTube, so if you want to check out her songs, she's a pretty badass singer too. Yeah. I put you on the spot, Tina, make you do like a lick for me here, yeah. But I don't want to do that to you. But she is amazing as far as singing and stuff too. I know we actually have quite a few musicians in my group. They always asking me.
Yeah, really?
Perform a sign. Yeah.
Awesome.
Sam has been begging me to play the guitar for like 2 months now.
Yeah. Well, you can record yourself, you know, find a perfect take and then be like, oh, this is just me. I woke up like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, guys, I think that's pretty much it. Any last questions? Anybody want to say anything to Tina or ask her a quick question or anything before we wrap it up? We'll just leave it open for 5 minutes if anybody wants to talk or ask a question.
Yeah. You want to ask me now something? I'm here. Like, just hit me.
Yeah. I don't know. Does anybody want to ask it? If not, we can just close it down. And if you want, feel free to message Tina. Christian says, thanks, Dave. Thanks, Tina. Definitely consider you in the future. Oh, Facebook name. Here, I'll type it in. It's right under her name there. It's, how do you say it? Pardjovski.
Yeah, that was good.
It's under her name right here on the chat. You can, if you see on her video, you can see her name. Eric says, thanks for putting this together. No problem. So I typed it in there, guys. And if you look in the group, I tagged her in a post. So just look in the post for her name. It's Hristina, Hristina, and then last name Pardjovski. Shannon says thank you both. Lisa says thank you. Thank you guys for coming here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. This was very nice, and I hope you got some valuable advice.
Awesome. All right. Well, you guys all have a great day. Go crush it. Go buy some phones, make some money, have some fun. And thanks again, Tina. Tina, I'm going to message you in a minute. Is that okay? Are you busy?
Yeah, sure. I'm here.
Cool. All right. I'll send you a message in a second.
Okay,
all right, guys.
It's very nice to meet you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.